Okay. I'm going to try something. I'm going to try to... I'm not looking at that screen. I'm going to try to go live on 3 different devices. So we are looking at Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. This will be the first time that I've ever been live on YouTube. I definitely need a new camera, but we're going to get into it. So the main one I'm going to look at is Instagram until I can get my YouTube camera figured out. But welcome. Today's live is going to be about trusting yourself is the same as, like, it equals trusting God, trusting the divine, whatever you want to believe in. It's going to be a little bit more spiritual today than some of the other ones have been. I don't like this angle. Hold on. Let's see. And that one. Dismiss. Okay. We're just live on TikTok and Instagram like we do. I will figure out YouTube later. Because I've got some things to set up. So, today is going to be about how trusting yourself is the same as trusting God or trusting into the divine, whatever you want to believe in. You will hear me use different names interchangeably. You may hear me say God. You may hear me say source. You may hear me say higher self. You may hear me, different things, the divine, right? Different things like that. Fill it in with your own personal beliefs. This is going to be a little bit more of a spiritual topic and how it bridges into the subconscious, how it bridges into manifestation, and the things that you are, that you desire in life, that you're looking to achieve or that you're looking to manifest or whatever the case may be. So, as for those of you who don't know, I am an intuition coach, but also like an intuition and identity mentor. And when I say identity, I mean who we are at the core, what makes us us at the core, right? When you strip away all of the titles, when you strip away, mom, sister, friend, aunt, tia, grandma, right? All of these different names that we've adapted through our journey. You were somebody before you were all of those things. And so that is the identity piece, right? And when we look at the identity piece in terms of like our higher self, when we get into the higher self talk and who we are without these identities, there are no labels. There are no labels to us. There is a soul in there, and the soul serves a purpose, and the soul, we are here to remember who we are, at the core. So there is a saying that, there's 2 things I'm gonna get into. So the first thing is in reference to what Neville Goddard has said. So Neville Goddard has said, God dwells within you, right? And when we think about intuition and when we think about, being intuitive and listening to our inner selves and things like that, the intuition you may have heard of as like God's whispers, right? Being, God whispering into you, and being listening to your intuition is being able to receive God's answers to your prayers or receive the guidance. This is why I often find it interchangeable when I tell you to obey your intuition. Obeying your intuition is obeying the guidance that you received from above to be able to move further. Now, taking it a step further, what Neville Goddard says is God dwells within you. And so intuition comes from within, which means you always have access to a higher power within yourself, within your own intuition. If we want to take it to the biblical sense, in Genesis, it says God made man in his image, right? And so when we think of it like that, both religion and spirituality, it still comes together that there is a higher presence that dwells within you, that is, within your essence. And being within you, that is the intuition. That is your intuition speaking. And so this is why when we decide not to listen to our intuition, when we go and we are like, I got this download, or I have this gut feeling, but I'm going to ignore it. When we do those things, that is a disobedience, if you will, to our own intuition. That's a disobedience to our own higher knowing. But then if you want to take it into the religious sense, right, that is how we disobey God. But I'm not trying to go on to the religious side of things. I want to keep it on the intuitive side of things, right? And so we have been taught, we have been programmed that we cannot trust ourselves. We have been programmed to believe that everything that we need is outside of us, right? We have been programmed to believe that we need to, listen to authority, quote unquote, right? We need to listen to, the authority figures around us, and we need to do as they say, and we need to obey them, right? But the thing of it is, we've learned obedience and authority outside of us, but we have not learned obedience and authority within us. When our intuition speaks to us, we question it. But when somebody we respect or we look up to speaks to us, we don't necessarily question it. We just follow through. We do what they said. We do what they advised, right? Excuse me. And that's not to say that they don't have good knowledge or that they don't that they're not able to guide or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But the thing of it is, when we are listening to all of the resources or all of the people outside of us, and we're not tuned into the one person within us, which is ourselves, then it comes to, this is why we feel lost. This is why we have moments where we feel unfulfilled in life. This is why we feel that, we have to always search for answers. And we have to go on these journeys, and we have to go find these people who can give us the answer. And we have to, ask for permission to do things. And we have to get validation from others before we act, right? This is why we sit around and we're like, let me see what my friend thinks of this idea. Let me see what my mentor, let me see if she thinks it's a good idea, right? And this happens when we're not tuned into our own intuition, which I can't remember the quote, but somebody had said once, the intuition is God's whispers at the end of the day, right? Your intuition is one with the divine. It is one with God. It is one with source. It is one with, whatever you believe in. That is what intuition is at its core. It is the connection to the outside realm. It is a connection to outside of what we see here present in the 3D. And this is where obedience sometimes does not make sense, because when you're tuned into your intuition and you obey the intuition, the messages are coming from outside of what you can physically see right here. And so when we ignore it, we ignore the guidance. So how many times have we prayed for something to come true, right? And then we get an idea. Let's say you're praying for money. Let's say you're praying for success in business, or something, something like that. So you say a prayer like, well, I really want, this to happen, and I really want that to happen, and hi Bree, hey friend, and I really want, these certain things to come true, and then you leave it at that. You do your prayer, you leave it at that, and then later you get an idea, and you're like, hey, that would actually be a really cool idea. And then you don't follow through on the idea. You get the idea and you keep it right there in your brain, or you start and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do something with it, and then what happens is the 3D mind starts to play tricks. The 3D mind comes out, and the 3D mind is like, oh, you can't do that. That's actually not that good of an idea. You probably shouldn't, you shouldn't do that. People are going to think it's weird. People are going to question you. People are going to make fun of you. People are going to be like, what is she up to, right? Things like that. And all these negative things come forward, and all of these negative emotions and these not so good way of feeling comes forward or whatever, right? Excuse me. And so you don't do it. You push it off. You're like, I'm not going to do it, actually. It's not that great of an idea. It's been done before. And then what happens is you've now disobeyed. You've now not listened to the guidance that you received. The idea was of the divine. The idea was for you to actually move upon, to actually act upon, to be able to get your answered prayer, if you will, or your answered manifestation. I always say in law of attraction, right? The word action is right there into the law of attraction, which means that you have a desire and you're putting out the frequency of the desire, but then you take zero action on it. There's no action being taken. And so therefore the law of attraction, you're missing a key piece of the word. And in missing a key piece of the word, that's why it's not coming to fruition, because you're not doing your part. You're putting out without receiving. And so how can we receive more? In order to receive more, you have to learn how to sit with yourself. You have to learn how to, be still enough to listen. You have to learn what these intuitive nudges are. I was talking with a friend the other day, and we were talking about intuition, and we were talking about how there's certain things you just know are about to happen. And we were speaking in terms of motherhood. And so we were talking about motherhood, and we were saying how as moms, like, we often get a sense of, oh, the baby's about to wake up, or what else? Oh, like my child needs to go to the bathroom right now, or whatever it is, right? Like, we know right when it's about to happen that it needs to happen. And we're not wrong. Majority of the time, like, we're never wrong. And so that's exactly what that is. This is what she helped me see the other day. She was like that right there is the intuition. And I was like, we use intuition all day long. We can use, especially as moms, we can use intuition all day long when it comes to our children and to other people. But then we stop using the intuition when it comes to ourselves. Why do we do that? Why do we stop using the intuition when it comes to ourselves? I will tell you why. Because we have not been taught that we can listen and obey the intuition. We have not been taught that it's safe to, be guided within. We have not been taught that we can trust ourselves. And because of that, we've not given, the ego and the mind are very, they're very complex. They can be. And so because of that, we've not given ourselves a new belief system on how to trust ourselves. We've not given ourselves the belief and the proof that we are trustworthy within. I made a video, it's going out later, but I was talking about how, when we say we're going to do something and then we fall back and we don't do it, we are feeding the belief that we cannot be trusted, right? We feed that belief within ourselves. And it can be over simple things, right? It can be over something as simple as, like, I'm going to do, this, 21-day workout plan. And then you decide to fall out halfway through, a week in, whatever. What that is you're not sticking to what you said you're going to do. And so you are giving yourself proof over and over again that you cannot be trusted. And what I mean by the ego and the subconscious or complex little beings is because the ego's job is to search for proof. The ego's job is to show proof in the brain, right? And so when we're rewiring belief systems, when we're restructuring our old way of thinking, when we're restructuring how we were brought up, or the events that made us who we are, and we're trying to evolve into somebody new, well, the ego's job is to find beliefs. And so one, not only does it start freaking out because we're starting to evolve and it's starting to recognize something new, it's going to cling on to the beliefs that we believe subconsciously, right? This is why writing is so powerful to change the subconscious, because when you are writing and change the subconscious, you are able to show new beliefs. If we look at the ego job as just ways to enforce beliefs, then what happens is the ego will then find new beliefs, that you will show yourself these new beliefs. But if you're not doing anything to rewire the subconscious mind, well, then the beliefs they're still old. The ego is still finding proof of these old beliefs. Start small. If you're looking to build self-trust, start small. And what I mean by start small is it can be as simple as, I am going to journal 2 to 3 pages every single day for 10 days, for 7 days. I would say go further, but let's just figure out our trust issues, right? Journal, make a way to journal 10 minutes a day, 2 pages a day, 3 pages a day, whatever it is you want to set for yourself. Something that is so stupid simple, right? Take it even simpler if you have to, and do it. Follow through on it for the 10 days or whatever you've set. And then you are now showing yourself new proof, new belief that you can be trusted in this instant, that you are able to do the things that you have set out to do, right? And so when you accomplish one small task, then you can build off of that. You get to accomplish more small tasks, okay? I remember receiving a download. It's been a couple months now. And the download, because I had self-trust issues. Speaking from experience here. The download was to do a 21-day detox. And the detox, it was simple. It was challenging, but it was simple. The detox was no soda, no alcohol, and no coffee. I was like, what was the third one? And no coffee for 3 weeks, right? And so that was it. And I was not like listening to myself. I was not doing what I was supposed to do. I kept getting this download and I was like, I'm good. I'm not doing that. So anyways, so I disobeyed, if you will. I didn't listen. And then like finally when I would meditate, like no clarity would come through. And the only thing that I would be told in meditation was like, do a detox, do a detox, do a detox. I was like, fine, I'll do the damn detox. So I did the detox for 21 days. And what ended up happening, for starters, is, there were a lot more downloads and a lot of clarity that came through. I was actually very in tune with my own intuition for the first time in a very long time. I've always been intuitive, but this like supercharged it, if you will. I was just super intuitive, right? And so after that, the 21 days finished. I kept going on some of the things. Like I cut out the soda and I cut out the alcohol for like an extra 21 days, right? So I ended up doing 6 weeks. And so, but I went back to coffee. So anyways, after the time was up, what I did not know was going to happen and what I did not recognize until weeks later was I actually built up a muscle of self-trust because I honored my intuition and I did what I was supposed to do. I was guided, right? So there was the initial effect, which was my clarity was strong, my intuition was strong. I was getting downloads and I was able to, act on these downloads and I was getting answers to things that I had been searching for. But then the second piece, the compound effect, was the self-trust that was developed in that. And so once that self-trust was developed, what I noticed is my writing changed. When I do 3 pages of journaling every single morning, 3 pages non-negotiable of intuitive writing on a full-size notebook. And so what I recognized was my writing had changed. And intuitive writing is when you're writing in a free flow state and letting your subconscious thoughts come out. Well, once I developed that self-trust muscle that I didn't even really know that I needed, new beliefs started showing up on the page. Things that I have been hoping for, wishing for, praying for, like wanting to change but not sure how, those started coming forward in my subconscious. And from those coming forward in my subconscious, now the ego mind is reinforcing the beliefs in the day-to-day. Now the ego mind will reinforce your proofs throughout the day. But it all comes back from first listening to your intuition and then obeying the intuition. Obeying the intuition to be able to receive the clarity and to be able to learn how to trust yourself. When we're spiritually disconnected, self-trust is challenging because self-trust is intuitive and it's spiritual. So when we are disconnected from ourselves, what happens is we look at mistakes as the end of the world. We look at mistakes that we have made and we think to ourselves, oh my gosh, I'm so stupid. I should have never done that. I can't believe that I can't believe that I did that. I can't believe I wasn't thinking straight, whatever it is, right? Like all of the negative self-talk that comes up. And so when we look at it like that, it gets hard to get into our intuition because we're leaning into the mistakes that we made, not recognizing that the mistakes are a room for growth. Anybody who doesn't see mistakes as room for growth or room for improvement or a lesson to be learned is spiritually disconnected. Will not convince me otherwise. Anybody, they're spiritually disconnected. And I don't mean that people who are like spiritually connected don't beat themselves up. It happens. It's still a part of the learning process, right? That's a human trait. That's a human emotion. It's a human thing. Well, this is a human experience. So to beat yourself up over a mistake is a human thing. But people who are spiritually disconnected, they hold on tight to that mistake, the mistake of themselves and the mistake of others, because they don't have like the growth mindset to see it as an opportunity for improvement. They see it as in a fixed mindset of like, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, all of these things. I don't even like to say these out loud because that's not things that I believe about myself, and the I am is so powerful. But anyways, instead of saying like, okay, well, what can I learn from that? What can I take from that? Like, what did I do? What did I repeat even that I can take and, not repeat again, or that I can take and I can learn from for the next time or whatever it is. And so that is what being spiritually connected and being spiritually disconnected looks like. And if you're spiritually disconnected and you made a mistake, well, you don't ever lean back into your intuition to learn how to fix the mistake, to learn how to evolve from it, to learn what the lesson was so that you don't repeat it. This is why people who are spiritually disconnected also stay in like toxic patterns, because they're not learning the patterns, right? They're not retraining the subconscious mind to see the patterns as what they are, and to be able to evolve from them and to move forward with them. Patterns become a product of the subconscious and the nervous system, right? And this is why people who crave peace outwardly, consciously, but grew up in chaos, subconsciously will always find chaos. I think one of my children is screaming. They're with their dad. This is why people who crave peace consciously, subconsciously create chaos. Because underneath the surface, if the normality was chaos, if you grew up in a household of chaos, or if you have internal chaos, it doesn't even have to be from the household, it can just be from within yourself, well, you're going to constantly create that chaos subconsciously, because that is what is normal to your nervous system. What happens is peace starts to feel boring because we're disconnected, right? We're disconnected from what we knew. We're evolving into something new. We're evolving into a new type of normal, into a new way of being. And so when we're doing that, the transition feels uncomfortable. The transition at times might often feel like you can't trust yourself because it's so new to the body. People who have been addicts, let's say, addicted to a substance, or alcoholics or anything like that, right? And they go through the initial period of sobriety, there is a reprocessing and a relearning that boredom does not mean like to go create chaos, right? Plenty of people like will use substance. It's not just to drown out, like, I mean, yes, it is to, drown out sadness and all of, trauma and all of these other things. But then there's a part too where people do use substances to fill boredom voids, right? So what happens is when you decide to go sober, you have to retrain your brain into seeing the boredom as peace. And so what happens when we see the boredom as peace? Well, the subconscious and the nervous system, they start to like freak out because it's new. It's all new, right? And so again, you keep showing yourself new beliefs. Every time you commit to something and follow through, you show yourself new beliefs. Every time you sit with yourself and lean into your intuition and do what it is the intuition is, guiding you towards, you show yourself new beliefs. To trust your intuition is to trust God. That is being led by blind faith, because your intuition will tell you things that sometimes do not make sense right away. But when you follow through on it, that is being divinely led. That is the blind faith. And so that really is how all of it ties together. That is what I have for you today on this live. I will leave you with one thing. It was something that Neville Goddard said that really stuck with me. And it came to manifestation and prayer, right? And I'm layman's terming. But essentially what he said is, do not pray from a place of begging. If you already trust that what you desire is yours, then why do you continue to beg for it? Why do you continue to pray from a place of, I'm going off on my own now, this is not what he said anymore. Why do you continue to pray from a place that is lack filled, right? That is like, well, I wish I could have this, and I wish I could have this, and please make this happen, and things like that. If you are in tune with your intuition and you already know that it belongs to you, then pray from a place of gratitude. Pray from a place that operates under the law of assumption. You assume that it is yours, therefore it is yours. And then you listen to your intuition to take the proper action to be able to achieve it sooner, to be able to bring it to you sooner, because you already assume that it's yours. You're not putting a frequency of desperation out. You put a frequency of confidence out. And when you have the frequency of confidence going out, well, then you confidently know that what you desire is on its way to you. And when you confidently know that what you desire is on its way to you, I guarantee you wake up a little bit different. You got an extra pep in your step. You're like, yeah, it's coming, right? You got like this, I almost said swagger. Like, that's so old school. But you have like a pep in your step. What are you doing? Oh, I'm just wrapping up the live. Thanks for the likes. You have like a little pep in your step to where it feels like, to where it's coming. It's like, think about your job, right? When it's payday. When it's payday, you wake up different because you know it's payday. You know you're about to get money in the bank. And so when we look at this from like a spiritual standpoint and operating under the law of assumption, you should wake up every day like it's payday. You should always be waking up like, yes, I'm getting everything that I desire today. And even if it doesn't come to you today, wake up again and do the same thing tomorrow. And the next day, and the next day, because that's how you collapse time. Because the frequency, the universe's job is to operate on frequency, and so the frequency that you're putting out it is already yours. So all the universe can do is give it to you, because the frequency is that it belongs to you. If you have a frequency of like, when is it going to happen? When am I going to get it? How can I get it? Then it's going to take longer, because you don't even trust that it's yours yet. You're trusting that it's somewhere out there in the ether. It's not out there in the ether. It's like right here. So anyways, that is what I have for you today. I will post the replay up to my YouTube, and then I have it recorded to go later on the podcast that will be launching on 5/5. So keep a lookout for that. I'm going to be putting something together for imposter syndrome and things of that nature. So give me a follow so that you don't miss out when I announce that. It will be some type of product or class or something like that. It's formulating in my brain. But anyways, everybody have a great Monday, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.